Welcome back to 3-Point Firefighter. I am an AI-generated voice, and today's guest is Matt Gehlbach. Matt has worked in Austin, Texas as a medic for a bit, then North Tahoe Fire in Lake Tahoe, California, then went to another DEP called Santa Clara County Fire. Then Matt eventually landed at San Jose Fire and been loving it ever since. Started a supplement business in February called Zenith Supplements, launched our flagship product called Morning Wood, which why he joined social media recently after a multi-year hiatus. So now he is trying to bring fitness and positivity into the world in general and fire service in particular. And with that, Matt Gehlbach.
Today's episode is brought to you by Fire Facilities. Make training count with their custom-made, all-steel live fire training facilities. Their made-in-the-USA towers and burn rooms are the best for preparing, responding, and surviving the challenges you face every day.
F it, let's do it.
All right, cool. Brother Matt, how you doing, man?
Hey.
We talked a little bit before, but the interwebs decided to play against us. We had to restart everything, so we're back again. So let me ask him. No, shit, that's terrible. Sorry. We'll cut the crap out of that. I'm not having a good day with this.
All good.
You know what? I'm going to leave it. Fuck it. It's my podcast.
Yeah.
What am I going to say to myself? I'm going to write myself up? No, I'm not going to write
Treat
myself
yourself.
up. Yeah, I'm on a pip. I'm going to put myself on a pip. So we were talking earlier about how I found you in social media. It's just a random thing where you were talking, answering questions and, about firefighting stuff. That evolved into me seeing that you do a lot of physical fitness, a lot of lifting. And my last question before the internet went was, are you a professional bodybuilder?
No. Okay. So answer that question. No, not yet. I'm training for a competition in November because physical fitness has always been obviously a priority for me. And then I had a buddy reach out to me and said, "Hey man, what are you doing? Like, why aren't you competing? Like either shit or get off the pot. Like you've got the physique. Why don't you train for it? It would be great for you and your company to get some stuff out there. You need to get on social media." And I never had social media before I started all this. And 2024 is me getting on social media. And so I was like, that sounds cool. Let's do it. And now I started doing it. And here I am just doing fitness and fire and family stuff.
So I love people that just get on social media because I've been part of it, since the beginning. Early adopter kind of guy, and it has definitely transformed from something possibly cool to the devil. I believe the internet is the devil now. What's it like for you to jump on social media now? All of a sudden, what are you seeing? What was your expectations versus what you're seeing right now with social media?
I feel like there's like different phases of it, right? So I jumped on and I was like, okay, I don't know what I'm doing. All right, I'm going to try to build this trophy dad thing. And the whole point of it was to promote this supplement that I own, this company, right? Because my business partner, it was like, you do the social media thing, I'll do the back end thing. I was like, crap. Okay, fine. So I jumped on it. Nothing really happened. And then I hired this content team to help me with the content. That's why the videos look kind of more profesh. And then that one video that you saw with the door opening and stuff just all of a sudden took off. I didn't make it. I just kind of filmed something and they spliced it together and threw it up there. And I was like, all of a sudden I woke up and I had all these notifications, all these comments, all this stuff. And I was like, holy crap, this took off. Like, whoa.
Wow.
And it was almost like I just like totally kicked the hornet's nest at first, where I knew I was going to get like a little bit of heat because firefighters they're just kind of like,
oh, that's my next question, brother.
Yeah, they're kind of they'll throw some shade at you, and a couple people were throwing some shade, but then I got some like hate like text messages and stuff. I was like,
what?
Yeah, it was like don't want to go too deep into it, but
let's go
it was
deep.
just wild.
Let's go deep. Oh, let's go deep.
Fine, Jake. It was like you hear all this noise on the sides, right? People talking to people, and it's like degrees of separation that comes back to you, right? So you're hearing all this stuff, and it's like, no one's talked to me about it, okay? And then I get a text message saying like, "Hey man, what's up?" Nothing. How's it going? Nothing. Just looking at your ridiculous TikToks. Do us all a favor. Take that shit down. Poser firefighter, trophy dad, verbatim.
Wow.
Like,
what particular TikTok was he? Do you think this person? When I say person, I mean bag of shit. This particular bag of monkey shit. What were they talking about?
It was that video with the door, and it was because the caption was "another busy day at the fire station," right? Mm-hmm. And because my station, comparatively for my department, isn't busy, even though we had a busier day, people got bent out of shape about that. And I was like, okay, well, I didn't write it. Like, if I chose to write that caption, I probably would have just said something more hokey, like, love every day that I get to be a firefighter. It's awesome, right? But the team that I hired wrote that, put it up. I had no idea. And all of a sudden, it just blows up, right? So I was like, man, that's so, like, I'm not trying to say, like, I'm, like, God's gift to firefighting, super busy, nothing like that. Like, it was just a video, innocuous video. And my theory of social media, and you can probably understand this, Jake, is two things. One, it's all kind of fake, right? Mm-hmm. It's all fake. It's all fake and lame, right? And I'll be the first to admit that. Like, hey, man, I put up hokey stuff. I like being informative, but also a lot of stuff's kind of hokey. And it's fun. It's fun. Mm-hmm. And two, you can always take the phone and put it down. And look, voila. Yep. It's gone. Yeah. It's gone. So I don't know. Yeah. So that's what it was. And I hear people saying like, oh, these people are texting me, asking what's going on. These people are texting me what's going on. And then we get into the whole policy, social media policy aspect of it, right? Mm-hmm. Which is a big gray area. And I'm sure it's a gray area for a lot of departments and a lot of people.
Now, wait a minute. We're not just jumping away from those bags of monkey shits, right? We're going to talk about these. I want to call them out because I hate them. I hope they all get, herpes in their big toe and can't wear sandals all summer. Fuck them. There's nothing worse than a brother or a sister putting information out there for a couple of reasons. To share what they know, which is our responsibility as a firefighter. We have to share what we know. If you use knowledge like currency and you just keep it all to yourself and you just dole out a nickel or a dime at a time, you're a piece of shit in my book. The fire service, true brotherhood, is raising each other up. And if you've got something that you can teach me or show me or even validate something I'm already doing, that's great. So and I've had plenty of haters, don't get me wrong, and I'm the least, I attack it a little less politically like maybe you did. I just call them bags of monkey shit. They're bags of monkey shit. They put on our t-shirt, they're bags of monkey shit. So the people that are haters, it's been my experience. And if you're a hater out there listening, first off, thank you for listening. I really appreciate it. And don't forget to subscribe.
Like and subscribe.
Yeah, like and subscribe. Smash that like button. No, but it's because you are striking a chord with them. And like for me, I'm passionate about training. I love training. I would train all the time. Now, I haven't always been. Anybody that's listening to my podcast knows that I went through a transitional period where I was a bag of monkey shit. So I feel like being a member of that club, I can call them out. So people would hate on me when I talk about certain things about training. Again, bags of monkey shit. I'm not going to sit there and go, well, I got to see your point. I thought about doing that. But I'm like, no, haters are just haters. And when you show something that you're better at or show something that maybe a little bit more intensively than they do, then they want to hate on you. And I agree with you. If you don't like what you're looking at, don't look at it. It's kind of that simple to me. If right now you're listening to this podcast going, God damn, Jake is sexy, but I hate his voice, turn it off when I'm done. And be sure to like and subscribe and hit that bell for more notifications. But no, I want to talk about that a little bit more because what has been your experience with these haters? What do you, I know you got a business, so you got to be nice and everything. That's why it's kind of cool that I can call them bags of monkey shit. For
Well,
those
I
drink,
own the business, so it's whatever. You know, it's not like I'm going to report. I am HR. You know.
do you still get them? Is there a certain type of video that when you put it out that you know, like, oh my God, I'm going to get haters?
Well, so that went back. Ooh, okay. So that kind of went back to my inexperience with social media, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there was one. I took down a couple videos. There was one where I was just being an idiot and I was like dancing with my shirt off, and someone was like, "That's like seen as provocative, like, and you have like bad words in the music, so you should take it down." And I was like, okay, whatever. I was just being an idiot, like hyped up on pre-workout, whatever. Okay,
Right.
cool. And there's another video I took down where it was perceived that the rig was moving and I was getting dressed without a seatbelt on. So a lot of people got, because that was a policy violation.
Jeez.
So I took that one down, and so
let me address that one. I want to
yeah.
address that one.
Okay.
I think people that have worked with me in the past would say I'm kind of a safety guy, right?
Mhm.
To almost a fault, and I'll admit that. But I just want one firefighter to email me at 3pointfirefighter@gmail.com that said they've never put their gear on in a moving vehicle, that they haven't come back. They're coming back from the store to the firehouse. They catch a run. They don't wait till they get to that run to put their gear on. If you're that guy, please email me, because as safety conscious as I am, that goes to protecting our public, right? Pretty sure we could put gear on in the back of the truck. I'm not saying we do it all the time. That's not our standard. But if we have to save a life, fucking do it. Ooh, that makes me mad.
So my captain's texting me right now. It's so funny. His ears must be tingling. So I see your point, right? And the thing is I was worried that the department would say, hey, this is a violation of policy. And I heard noise, nothing. No one ever contacted me of other people contacting brass, saying, hey, what's up with this guy getting dressed in the back without a seatbelt on? Like being a bad example or something like that, right? And then I had someone else contact me who's turned out to be a decent ally, I guess, who does, how do I describe it? Like how not to get fired in the fire department type of stuff, right? And she was like, hey, just FYI, you should probably take this down just because in case the department decides to bring the hammer down, like you don't want to be that guy, right? And I was like, okay, I get it, right? So I get your point. Two things can be true at once, right? I get your point in the real world, right? Like we do it a lot, but I also want to set a good example for other people and not do any like conduct unbecoming for my department as well, right?
I totally get that. And social media policies can hamstring you, right? I mean, they can.
Yes. So I try to do my homework because it's a really, like I said, kind of gray area. If we're going now into the social media policy conversation, I contacted our public information manager to ask about the policy, and it's just really gray. It's basically like, essentially, if you want to be safe, don't film anything wearing your department stuff, right?
Right.
And then that's what he mentioned to me, and I said, okay, what about everyone else that has put up thousands and thousands and thousands of other stuff, right? And he's like, well, we'd have to go after all of them too, right? I'm like, okay, well, so if you just go after me, it would be seen as retaliatory. And if you go after everyone else, it would take a whole nother 40-hour position of months, maybe years on end to hunt everything down that's out there on the internet, right?
Right.
So I was like, okay, well, here we are. And it's just like, basically, as long as I don't promote anything, any business, anything like that on duty, monetize anything on duty in the uniform, stuff like that, that's kind of where it landed, I guess. So, because there's a lot of people that put stuff from my department up on social media, you know, and I think it's a good thing. Like you said, you think that the social media can be the devil, but I think if you can have it, you can use it for good. And it turned into a really good recruiting tool as well, because I got a lot of DMs of people going like, hey, I want to apply for your department. I want to apply got any tips? Got anything? Where are some stations I can visit? Blah, 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 blah.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't my intention to do that. It just kind of happened, you know? And like you said, being informative, like I don't claim to be like this wonderful firefighter or anything like that, but people start asking me questions and I give answers. It's just how it happened, you know?
I think I think that the highest level of maturity a firefighter can have is realizing that we don't have all the answers. There's no finish line for us, you know.
Yeah.
Retired with 30 years, and I just started really learning, you know, the past few years of my career. It's a long race, and I hate haters I just hate them, man. I hate them. And I look on some of these posts on some good tactics, some good things, and people just get on there to bash them without any context on a 10-second clip, you know, and I've done it. Look, I've done it. I try not to do it at all now. Matter of fact, it's rare that I ever pick fights on the internet because you'll never win. You know, it's like arguing with your wife. You're not going to win.
That's the thing I realized too, is like you can Monday morning or armchair quarterback all you want with stuff that you see on social media. You don't know what their policies and procedures are. You don't know anything. Like I saw a video of this one guy who does, I forgot his handle, but he films stuff for Baltimore City Fire.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a truck call, one of their busy trucks. I think it was like truck 10, like something like that. And they have these little step ladders, like a little raised step, and they kind of step up into the truck, right? Mm-hmm. And people were in the comments were hating on their little like step ladder thing that they have to step up to in the truck, right? And man, 10 years ago, I would have been like, that's lame. Why are you using little steps to get up into the truck, losers? But now it's like, okay, there's got to be a reason for it. There has to be a reason for it. And I thought about it, and I was going to send a message because I wanted to like do a little stitch with it, but I forgot. And it's probably, and this is my guess, is they probably had a lot of disability claims because they're so busy. Disability for ankle, knee, hips, mm-hmm. because they're stepping up so high, constantly stepping up, stepping down, rolling ankles, or just overuse, anything like that. And then they probably did some sort of study and was like, hey, if we lower that angle getting into the truck, we can lower the amount of disability claims and injuries and overuse injuries because it's more of a gradual incline to get into the truck. That's what went through my mind.
Right.
And I was like, there's a reason behind that. They don't just do it to do it because they're like short. Some people were like, oh, the little midgets need to hop up into the truck or something like that.
No, you're right.
You know?
It's so easy to look and judge things. I have this one video that I use, and when I go teach, it wasn't one that I picked out. It was part of this teaching package that I teach for NFPA 1403 fixed facility live fire, and it is it shows an unattached garage. They set it on fire for training, and then the students and the instructor standing outside, and as they're talking, the garage door slams shut, and so then I use it. Two purposes. One, because I'm there for 1403, I usually ask those questions. I'm like, okay, we don't know a whole lot about what happened before and after this, but what was correct for 1403? And they'll say, oh, the student to instructor ratio or the backup line, all the stuff. But then I say, okay, just for the keyboard warriors, if you saw this video, what would you say? And most of them would say, well, that was dangerous. What if they were inside? And, you know, going round robin, and everybody pretty much has something to that effect. To which I reply, because I didn't know at the time either. I said, I thought the exact same thing until I got my information. And it was in Grand Rapids Township, where that was what they were testing. They got a whole bunch of houses that were similar, and they were testing what keeps garage doors up the best. So that was what they were trying to do, but they didn't talk about it on there. So people thought, oh my God, they're stupid. But they were using like wedges, C-clamps, pike poles, stuff like that, vice grips, and it turns out pike pole was the best one. But I think that's an excellent representation of what you and I are talking about, is that you see something on social media, your mind immediately goes to something negative, i.e. ipso facto bag of monkey shit, then as opposed to what you try to do, which is, hey, try to seek to understand. Yeah. So I've failed more than I've succeeded. I'm not going to lie, but That's where I'm at now. So it's kind of the same thing with you. So I go back to the internet being the devil. It's absolutely the devil. No matter how much we try, it could be so bad. And I just don't understand brothers and sisters hating on brothers and sisters. That one I don't get too well, but that are trying to put good content out.
I'll be honest. The majority has been positive, but the people that are on your team aren't as loud as the haters, right? Small,
yes,
loud majority, right? So you don't know, and then people are, but for the most part, people, I will say, yeah, for the most part, people are, it's been positive. They're like, yeah, do what you need to do whatever. I think the content's good. It's fitness. It's informative. I don't understand what's going on with some people, but whatever. One guy was like, some of those haters probably don't even know how to spell hypertrophy.
Yeah. It's exactly right.
So I was like, yeah, he's like, just do what you got to do. Cause a lot of the people that are positive, they understand, right? They understand that why behind the what, right?
Right.
So
absolutely. So are you making more firefighter content? I see a lot more of working out content, which is great.
Yes and no. I was trying to kind of lay low for a little bit, and just kind of see what, because all I got, like when I was asking a lot of questions, right? And all the answers I got was a lot of be careful, just be careful, just be careful. And I was like, I don't like operating in a gray area of be careful and fear-based like that, right? It's like, be careful of what? Well, they could make an example of you. Okay. But I'm not doing anything different than other people are doing, right? So what do you mean? Because that would, if you've been in the fire service, Jake, for 30 years, if you pick me out of doing something that someone else is doing, you can't do that. It's a big no-no, right?
Right.
So I was like, well, be careful of what? And no one could give me a firm answer. And that was like bugging the absolute piss out of me, where I couldn't get a firm answer for anything. And so I just kind of kept doing it. And then I got a little burnt on it. But I'll probably get back into it a little bit, get some more ideas, stuff like that. Now that, because social media operates at like 1 million miles a minute, right? So all of a sudden that one video goes viral and everyone's talking about it, right? I'm running calls on scene and people are like, I saw you on TikTok. And I was like, cool. And that was super positive too. They're like, dude, it's cool stuff. I love it. And I think if people have an understanding of what social media is, right? It's hokey, it's fake, it can be lame at times. It is what it is, right? You have a better understanding of everything because life is so short. Like in 3 generations, no one's going to remember your name, right? And this, no one literally and figuratively is getting out of this game alive. And so you might as well just have fun while you're doing life.
Yes.
Right? Just have fun. So enjoy the ride. Exactly. And that's what I'm trying to do, is just enjoy the ride.
I like that. I like when you're sharing. I like firefighters that share. I get to go around the country and teach, and there's nothing better than learning something new from somebody that is so obvious, and you never even think about it until somebody else says, "Oh, have you like turning the thermal imaging camera 90 degrees?" I've had a thermal imaging camera in my hand for tons of times, and it never occurred to me just to turn it 90 degrees, and it makes everything, you get a wider field of view. I love stuff like that. So I think some of your videos are very much like that. When it comes to the social media, you're getting good responses. Now, when I reached out to you, first I saw a bunch of videos. I'm like, interesting, cool. I like this guy. And you kept showing up. And I was like, now I got to talk to this guy. I just had this thing in my head. I'm like, got to talk to him. But I didn't know you had a supplement business at all. So I want to plug that. Anything I can do to help brothers and sisters, plug their business book. Yeah, what do we got there?
I got it right here. It's called Morning Wood. It's a little play on words, obviously.
Love it.
So obviously, me being in fitness, I take a lot of supplements, creatine, glutamine, amino acids, things like that. And I had all these bags, and you just mix them on these bags and mix them from these bags. And the flavor, I don't know if you've ever had like amino acids and creatine, all stuff. It's just unflavored and it just tastes like anus, right? Yep. not that I know anything. But anyways, so
you were saying like, anus? I believe you were saying anus. That's where we left off. Anus.
Yeah.
Anus.
So I have a buddy, business partner buddy, and I was talking to him on the phone. I was like, man, there's got to be a better way where we could just combine all this into one. Is there something on the market for it to buy? And I couldn't find it. And if I did find it, it was like underdosed because I like actual efficacious dosages of things. And so I was like, well, what's preventing us from making our own? And he was like, nothing. Let's get together. He's like, I could do the tech stuff back end, put up the store, blah, 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 blah. I was like, okay, I'll reach out to a manufacturing company and see what we could do. And then I was on the phone with him and I wrote down what I want in it and the dosages and stuff like that and shot off an email. I'm like, yeah, we could do it. Let's send some samples. And they said, these are the best flavors for your formula. It's citrus, lemon, lime, and orange. And we got samples for it. Tasted great. So basically what it is, obviously it's called Morning Wood. So it's a morning hydrating nootropic, and nootropic just kind of helps jumpstart your brain for cognitive benefits. Because for me, being a firefighter, man, we're addicted to caffeine and coffee, right? Coffee's hot all day, and caffeine can dehydrate you, and you're just addicted to it. And there are health benefits to coffee, but let's say you're up running all night. I've had shifts where I'm up running all night. I get up in the morning, first thing I do is hit the coffee pot, and I'm dehydrated, and I get like a migraine, I get a headache, I just feel like garbage. So I need so I'd take some electrolytes and things like that, and feel a little bit better. And I was like, why can't I just make an all-in-one where you take it in the morning, wakes your brain up, especially if people don't want to be stimmed out, right, with caffeine, and help recovery with the amino acids and recovery and stuff. And
it's not a stimulant. It didn't have a stimulant in it though.
No stimulants, none whatsoever.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's go ahead.
You're sending me some of this stuff, which thank you very much. I cannot wait to try it. I'll give you my backstory. That's why I asked about the stimulant part. Go back about, I don't know, 6 or 7 years ago. I mean, that's 5 years ago. I was doing No Explode every morning, right? When I go to the gym, I know it was No Explode for me, in my experience, was no bueno. So I was doing it every day. And, when you get into a rhythm, that's how your morning goes. So I would have my No Explode. So after doing that for years and years, all of a sudden I developed AFib. Don't know why, don't know how at the time. So I have to go to the doctor, to a cardiologist, which I've never been to a cardiologist before. I've been a runner most of my adult life. I like to lift, not to your level, but I exercise every day, go to the gym 6 days a week. But anyway, so he's like going through my life and he cannot figure out what caused this AFib. And finally we got to my morning routine and I said, oh, I forgot I take this mixture called No Explode. He goes, what is that? I said, it's a pre-workout. So he pulled it up. He goes, is this it on the internet? I go, yeah. He looked at the stuff in it, and I'm not making this up. This cardiologist said, this particular chemical does not need to be in a human body. He goes, at this dosage, it should not be anywhere near a living person. He said, knowing what I know about the heart, this is why you have AFib. So I quit taking it. I haven't used it or any pre-workout in forever. So I'm super excited to try this stuff. And I'll tell you right now, I'm going to be honest with you. If I like it, I'm going to let you know. If I don't like it, I'm going to let you know. I just how if you want to know, I won't put it here publicly unless you want it public, but I cannot wait to try it because the more you talk about it and the fact that it's a non-stimulant makes me feel like I'm going to get what I need to go to the gym or go running or anything.
Yeah. So I love all feedback, positive and negative, on it, and that's what we want. We want people to be honest. I want people both smoke up my ass. So, but
there's
people
ass
have
again.
been using
Anus.
Yeah, I know. Weird.
It's a drinking game.
Usually, yeah. So people have been reporting they use it as a pre-workout, and they've got great results as a pre-workout. Right. That wasn't my intention. Right. It was just a morning jump start before you hit a cup of coffee or try and taper off coffee.
Right.
But it's got that L-citrulline in it, which is a natural vasodilator with the electrolytes, and then the nootropics, which will just help you focus throughout your workout. And so people love that. And then I'll take a scoop before I have to do some business work and I need to focus, things like that. Or even it's a great hangover cure too.
There you go.
Or so inclined. So,
oh shit, I'll put
not
that
that
to
I
work
know,
right
but
away.
I do know. Yeah. Yeah. So,
When I
anyways,
get shit faced tonight, my wife will be saying, "What's going on?" I'm like, "Dude, I'm doing work. Maybe it's science. Science."
Yeah. You're going to see my morning wood tomorrow. But anyways, so we beta tested it on Twitter/X, had great results for it, did a pre-sale, and was able to take that pre-sale and funnel our first batch of orders. And that's when it came out. And then that's when I really ramped up the social media stuff to get followers for more channels. And it's all part of the plan, you know?
Well, I'll tell you what. So we're coming to an end to part one. We're going to roll into part two, but when we end, I want to end part one with how do we find morning wood? Your morning wood, not your morning wood. That sounds bad too. How do we find the product that you sell called morning wood?
All right. It's Zenith Supplements.us. So normal spelling of Zenith, supplements.us.
All right, brother. I appreciate you being on. And for those listening, stick around. Part two will be next Monday.
Sweet.
All right. We're back. Last week we talked a whole lot about your product. Here's a little behind the scenes for those listening. This is just like 5 seconds ago when we ended part one. This is a week away, so I haven't tried the product yet. Still,
I should change my shirt to make it more realistic.
That stuff was great.
Yeah.
So one of the things I love, so when I send out show notes to guests, and I always ask them, what do they like to talk about? And then I also put in what I like to talk about. You know, we kind of go from there. One of the things you wrote, I just cannot wait to dive into it. So I want to dive into it now. And here's exactly what you wrote, and I love it. It said, I kind of want to hear your thoughts on some departments going away from the probie year, aka letting rookies just be themselves so we can know them better, but still learning junior guy stuff and passing quarterly evals rather than just making these emotional robots. So I interpreted this as old school versus new school. Old school being, hey, you're seen, not heard, shut up, do what I tell you to do, don't question me, I know way more than you, which is how I came up. I have no problems with how I came up in the fire service, but I recognize that things change over time. And I have made that shift over time. So tell me about, what is it about this that made you want to talk about it? What has happened with you that you're like, I want to talk about this?
That's just something that's kind of popped in my head. And so I took a company officer class recently, and we actually talked about this. The instructor talked about this, and he said there's a big department in California, in our area, that is kind of going away from this, and he wanted to hear our thoughts and kind of open up the class thoughts. And I've kind of had a lot of thoughts about this, because when I had probies go through my station, I always wanted to get to know them, right? I feel like I'm a pretty personable person. I want to know their backstory, their history, their background. But it was always kind of like, well, I'm from here and stuff like that, right? Like, they don't look at you. They're just constantly running around, just doing busy work stuff, and you don't get to know them. And like, I want to get to know you. You know, we're trying to figure out if you're a good fit for the next 30 years, 25 years in the fire service, right? We're going to spend a lot of time together. I want to get to know you. And for a lot of people, like, you can fake that for a whole year, and then you get off probation, all of a sudden you're a piece of shit, you know? And rather than get to knowing someone more, and when you take the time to get to know someone, you learn how they are able to learn, right? So if there's a probie that's struggling with something and just shut up, do the work, do the drill, do what I say, but they're just not getting it and clicking it, I feel like you're kind of setting them up for failure, as opposed to getting to know them and getting to know what motivates them, because each person is different. And so for me, it was like, the reason why I asked this is, let's say you're at the dinner table, right? We're at the dinner table, and you always tell the rookies, like, just read the ketchup bottle ingredients. You're just sitting there and just don't look, don't laugh, don't smile, nothing. Don't even look at the TV. How dare you look at the TV? And so this instructor was bringing back to instructor. He was like, what about bringing down the temperature a little bit, hey, this is how you do your rookie year. You're going to be the junior guy, learn the junior guy stuff. You clean the toilets, make the coffee, last to bed, first up, empty the dishwasher. But if all the work is done, be a part of the crew because you are a part of the crew. You're assigned here. You're part of the crew. We want to get to know you because you're part of the family, right? And I really like that aspect of it because we get to learn their personality. We get to learn what makes them tick. And it makes people less nervous, right? When you're just kind of wound super tight, you're going to make mistakes. And then it kind of snowballs, right? As opposed to, hey, let's bring it down a little bit. We're on the same team here. We just want you to pass these. We want you to learn the job. We want you to learn the skills required for this job, and also the station culture, right? So let's all get together. Let's get to know you, things like that. And that's kind of where that came from. So we could see, hey, is this a spot that you want to bid when you get off probation? I don't think it's a right fit. Or let's say you have an emotionless robot who did all the work for you, ran around with a chicken with their head cut off. And you're like, this guy's a super hard worker. We love this guy. Let's have him bid here. And then gets off probation in day 366. He's a total piece of crap and doesn't do anything, right? Because you didn't get to learn how they tick, So that's kind of where I was going with that.
I totally agree. And it's a fine line, and it's not an either or, in my humble opinion. I'm by no means an expert. I've been a new person 3 times. And I thought I had it figured out. Looking back on it, I didn't. The last place I worked, I came in with, 11, 12 years experience, started all over again. And so I was brought up as just shut up. Well, that's what I did, is I just shut up and for the most part, and try to learn the way. And they did some stuff that was completely stupid, but I didn't correct it. And it kind of blew up in my face a little bit. But I will tell you this, because I was so quiet, this one time we made a fire, and I put the gate valve on. You're supposed to put, for those that aren't firefighters, you put the gate valve on one side of the hydrant. You put the line on the other side to your truck. So that way, if another truck has to pull up and connect, they can just hook up to that without turning the hydrant off and on. Well, I put the gate valve on, and then I put the supply line connected to it. And fire went out, no big deal. Well, because I was so quiet and they didn't really know me that well, I was the biggest idiot. Oh man, 11 years and you did this. I'm like, yeah, it's just a mistake. Whoopsie doodle. But if I was part of the conversations early on, if they knew what I knew, they would have known that was just a mistake. That was an indication of my skill set, right? So they gave me nothing but grief, fun grief, joke grief. I wasn't upset. Really, it was just like, I get it. You
didn't get called into the office or anything?
Okay, so I did, but in a very great way. Okay. My boss, Chris Rainbow, the major, I like to mention by name because he really, really mentored me without me knowing it. He got into an ISTA manual, and he copied how to hook up to a hydrant on a piece of paper, and he said, I have to keep it with me. And he knew it was a mistake. He was just having fun. So I would keep it in my helmet. And so every fire or whatever, he'd say, you still got it? And I'd pull my helmet off, and I'd show, and it got more and more tattered. But that was that was fun. He wasn't being a jerk by any means. But my point in all that is I was trying to fit in so hard by being that quiet guy and learning their way. I didn't let them get to learn me. And, I've never been the world's greatest firefighter by any means, or even close. But that wasn't a good demonstration of my skill set that day. And if they knew me better, I think that would have gone better. So fast forward to other recruits, I feel like I absolutely believe you. I mean, you have to, we want to call ourselves a family. There's two lies in the fire service. One is we're pro athletes. Bullshit. We're not pro athletes. Some of us train like it. Some of us don't. We're not pro athletes, right? I think we should be. I think we should treat the job that way. But, when you got a guy that hasn't seen his feet in years telling you this is, we're goddamn pro athletes. No, we're not. We're not. But the other one is we're a family. And we're not a family. I think some of us are. But to your point, can you imagine like having a 5-year-old, your son, come up and you're like, don't talk to me, go clean the shitters. You have nothing to say. You don't bring nothing to the table. And then in 1 year go, hey man, what do you think we should do today? I mean, that's stupid, right? Mm-hmm. So if you're going to play that family trope, which we should genuinely be a family, treat people like family, because they're not going to buy what you're selling a year later. If you say after 1 year, you're like, all right, buddy, let's go golfing, or hey, meet my wife and kids. You know, you've set a tone for the nenext 20 or 30 years, especially if you're one of those dicks that do everything to screw with rookies. So I believe there's a fine line. Every culture is going to be different, but they're not. I want to give the right person the right credit, and unfortunately I can't. Please email me if people know this. But he said the bravest thing any firefighter ever does in their entire career is just sign up to be a firefighter. Everything else after that is just doing your job. So I think if we want to produce better recruits, better firefighters, ultimately to serve our community better, we need to treat these new recruits like exactly what they are. They're people that are coming into this job. They need to trust you. They need to know they can open their mouth so they can ask questions. And our ego needs to be in check a little bit, just in case some of these new guys know a little bit more than we do academically without the experience. That's my thoughts.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think it's, I feel like it's changing a little bit because I don't know how it is in your area, but in our area, like we have a huge staffing crisis. Like people don't want to be firefighters anymore.
Yeah.
And so those that do sign up for the job, we're really grateful for. And so I feel like it's already changing where the template's like, hey, thanks for applying and being a part of us. Like you're helping us out, you know, like, all right. And I feel like it is changing a little bit. And a lot of that old guard is starting to retire a little bit. And it's more like younger generations, more into the millennials and Gen Zers and stuff like that are becoming leaders and kind of slowly changing that ship, you know?
So the Gen Xers, me, the best generation there is, everybody else sucks anus, I believe is what you would say. But we're leaving in droves. We're gone. So that leaves a lot of Gen Y, Gen Z. What are your thoughts on these younger generations, and where do you see it helping or hurting the fire service going forward?
Man, that's a good question.
I'm an interviewer. It's kind of what I do.
Yeah, it's almost like you do this for a living. Wow.
Not for a living. Oh my God, my kids would be hungry.
Well, the younger generations, the Gen Y, millennials, things like that, right? So I feel like it's going to more of a chill culture, but also keeping that standard high, right? So it's a fine line between keeping the standard high and being able to be yourself. And I don't know if relaxing is the right word, but like you said, being able to be yourself in the fire service. And the Gen Xers, and I don't disagree with you. It's a great generation, lot of knowledge, lot of time in the fire service. And we're going to have this almost information gap that I kind of see because I see a lot of younger guys in the fire service, let's say 6 to 10 years on, promoting to company officer, which isn't a bad thing. I don't think it's a bad thing. But I'm worried that there might be a knowledge gap, right? However, you can bridge that gap by, like you said, more training, taking classes, and just running calls and being busy. My department's really busy. We just had a big third alarm fire the other day, and just learn by doing, right? And so you just kind of, no one thinks they're ready to promote to company officer. I think you just kind of do it when it's like a, if not you, then who type of thing. And it's like, okay, well, I'll learn, I'll figure it out, and I'll make sure that all my guys go home safe. And I feel like that's kind of the mentality a lot of them have, where it's like, okay, we're having this gap. There's a need for company officers. I'm going to try to promote, and we're going to learn it, and I'm going to take care of the guys, and we're going to train, and we're going to kind of figure it out together. That's kind of where I'm at.
that can work. And let me see. I want to see if I can. I want to pull something up here. And I don't know that I've done this too often on this show, and that is sharing a screen, because I just got something today that kind of blew me out of the water. Let me see if I can do this here, sir. So in my area, we have a city fire department, and then we have multiple departments in the county, right? So some people that I worked with thought very little of the county departments because they weren't city departments. Now, I can't honestly, I can't get on board with that really, because I don't think that's any indication whether you're a good firefighter or not. So just today, I opened up this email, and let me see if I can share it with you, because I want to show this to you. Where's it at? Matt, where's it at? You're not telling me where it's at there, brother.
I'm not seeing it.
You're being an anus. You are being an anus. Oh, here we go. All right. So this was sent to me. This is the task book for one of those county departments. It is Highlander Fire Department, which is a newer fire department. This is a task book just to be a captain. So I look at this first piece and I'm like, all right, whatever, pretty, but it's in depth. This is a great task book. So as I scroll down, I'm passing a lot of stuff, but here it has the responsibilities for the captain trainee and then for the evaluating officer. So can you see all that? Now, I'm going to scroll down. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this, but here's some of the stuff just to be considered a captain. All the stuff that has to do with driving, being a sergeant, which they have one of these for the driver operator too, and it's just as in depth. And then we're going to come down here. I'm going to pass all this stuff up. There's a ton of stuff here because I'm going to get to this part. This is the part that I love. Right here. Starting here. Demonstrate the knowledge, skills, and abilities to control, confine, and extinguish structure fires in the following types of structures. So multifamily, apartment, duplex, business, industrial, high-rise, building under construction. Keep coming down. Look at these tasks and certifications they have to be considered. Fire Officer 1, Fire Instructor 1, that's not too big. But then they go into the NFA, the National Fire Academy, Leadership 1, 2, and 3. They have to have the art of reading smoke, size up and command. Look at all these classes they have to have. They have to read the books, Tool of the Trade, Pride and Ownership, Company Officer Academy. My point is that look at what they expect of their people to become actual captains, as opposed to, hey, there's a spot open. Do you want it? So the way my department did it was, when I first came on was, hey, do you want to be a captain or driver, battalion chief? Just type a letter. You don't put in a resume. Then it became, well, now you got to have certain certifications, but then based on seniority, it goes from there. So it was not a promotional process. It was just something so the chiefs could pretty much pick who they wanted. This book helps eliminate some of that because there is a high expectation for their officers. And the same for the drivers, if I showed you that one. So do you feel like, going back to what we're talking about, that this format, this type of information is what the younger generations are going to be doing and looking for? Or do you think that there should be some more high-tech versions of this to better suit their needs, how they learn? Because they learn differently than I learned. I learned by memorizing, like rote memorization. You know, the Magna Carta was written in 1812 to limit the kings. You know, they don't need to know that. They can Google it, right? So rote memorization is not a way to learn anymore. What do you think with this newer generation? How do we get that information to them to where we get a better firefighter, better captain?
I don't know.
That's a good answer.
Because so for us in California, we don't have those classes. Our classes are company officer. They're called company officer classes, and I think there's 4 of them. Mm-hmm. You have to take hazmat, IC. You have to have instructor 1, and there's a couple others that I'm forgetting off the top of my head. But you just have to take those classes, and you have to have time on, and then you test, and then whether you score well on the test, so you have a written, manipulative, and an interview, and they bring in seniority points as well, and that's how you land on the list, right? So some of those classes I feel like are good. Like I said, the class that I took recently was very good. It wasn't lecture-y, it was more discussion oriented. So I really like that aspect of it. And I think that's how you do it, is you just have discussions and, hey, what about this? What about that? So then we can bridge that into like tactics, right? What about this? What about that? What about this happens, right? In those classes. So I think that's a good idea with those. And with technology, like, yeah, I think a simulator is like, I've never taken one, had one before. And do you know if they exist? Like, fire simulators exist, right?
They do. I think when I think about the newer generation and being so tech savvy, I feel like the Fire Service Research Institute (FSRI) does a great job of marrying information with technology. And so, like, you can go to their website, and all the UL studies, UL NIST, FSRI studies are on there in classroom form. I think if you go back to before I came on to now, this new generation, like you said, in 5 or 6 years will be officers. To me, it feels like the core components don't change. It's the ability to learn and the ability to share effectively. Those two things. So it's how you do those two things. I think that the different generations kind of struggle with. So I think the stuff like the online education, everybody hates like target solutions and vector solutions. They get exactly out of it what they put into it. So the older guys hate it because, it's technology. I get that. But there's great information. They're great platforms if you use them the way they're designed. If you go to FSRI, you get all the free classes and stuff. So I think these people are ahead of the curve for the generations. I think this online management, I'm not saying that's the only way to do things. I think what I've mentioned is basically supplements. Nothing beats pulling hose and learning. Nothing beats going up, 7 flights of stairs with a high-rise pack. But I feel like for the new generation's tech savvy, they can learn a lot of the stuff in between all the little gray areas through using technology. That's my thought. With the newer generation, there's a lot of toxicity against the newer generations. Did you see how I tied that in, by the way? Did you like that? Again, you're not my first interview, okay? I mean, I'm kind of a big deal in my own head.
Going. Yeah.
But I agree. I think there's tons of toxicity in the fire service, and I think it affects the newer generations and the kind of firefighters you're going to get. What are your thoughts on it? What have you seen or experienced? What are you hoping to avoid?
With the fire service culture stuff?
Yeah, the toxicity, the culture, everything.
I just ignore it, really. The thing is like, I feel like this is what goes through my mind is people, if people don't have the full story, they start talking shit, right? And like I said, like we said in the beginning, if someone just takes the time to get to know, like you with that hose connect, right? With the supply connect, just takes time to get to know that, gets time to know why you're doing something, why behind the what. You can understand more. And I think it's just a big lack of knowledge. Like if someone were to text me and be like, hey, what's up with your social media? I can take time to explain. This is why I'm doing it, blah, blah, blah. I don't want to. I didn't really want to do it. It was just by necessity. And it just kind of happened. And here we are. So with that being said, you just kind of got to ignore it. I mean, that's just the thing, and be above it. Right. So I heard a great quote is that people kind of in front of you don't pull you back. People behind you are the metaphorical dogs nipping at your heels, right? So attach yourself to someone who you want to be, and they will pull you up and pull you forward. I had a great company officer on my probation who would always do that. He would always say, Matt, come here. We had a grass fire and it was ripping and stuff like that. And put his arm around me. He's like, what do you think about this? Like, what do you mean? You're the officer. You tell me what to do. And he's like, no, I want you to be a thinking firefighter. What are you going to do? And he's like, and he just sat there and just waited. It was like silent. And this thing was just taking off. I was like, well, I'm going to pull the 1 3/4 pre-connect. We might need a hotel bundle attached to it, and not the hotel bundle, excuse me. We might need to attach some wildland hose to that with a Y, and maybe call for a couple more engines if we need it for some water supply. He's like, perfect. I love it. Let's go. And
Oh, that's
he called
awesome.
me over after, and he's like, the worst decision is indecision. You make a decision, and then you just adjust there. But if you freeze and lock up, that's the worst thing you can do. Just make a decision. Now, was your decision right, wrong, or indifferent? Whatever. Did the fire go out? Yes. Perfect. Could we quarterback it and make it even better? Sure. But it wasn't wrong.
So
like,
what was this guy's name? I want to give him a shout out. Sounds like a great company officer.
Josh Shepard.
Josh Shepard, Brother Shepard.
Yeah.
You sound like the kind of captain we all needed. I had a Greg Stapleton in Lexington, and he was always teaching me things. Looking back on it now, I see it way clearer. But I remember being in a fire. There was nobody in the fire. It was after hours. It was gone pretty much. But we were, and the whole room was going pretty good. And he's like, all right, do you see how the fire is doing this? Do you see where it's going? Do you see where we're at? How can we get out of here? He took every moment was a learning moment with Greg Stapleton. So I want to shout out to Captain Shepard and Captain Stapleton, because I hope they realize the effect they had in the fire service. Because now you've talked about him online. You've talked about him where people can, I've got over 4 listeners. So now 4 people have just heard his name, right?
You're kind of a big deal.
Well, I don't want to brag, but I'm the #1 podcaster in my house. So, that's kind of a big deal for me. 2 years running.
For sure.
I've been doing this for 4 years. All right, brother, we're going to wrap up here a little bit, but a couple things before we wrap up. Now, I'm going to put a link down in the bio to where they can find your supplements. Also, I'm going to put some link down where they can find you on social media. And also, I want to hear the best firehouse prank you had played on you, or you've played on somebody.
Man, I didn't have too many pranks played on me.
Because you're like 6'10", 320.
Yeah, and I'm not a big prankster either. But let me think. You sent me that email, and I was like thinking about it, and I was like, man, there's a couple like dorky ones. We had the little cricket chipper that I put under my buddy's bed.
Always a good one.
Nuts. That was a good one. And then this is ones I've heard from other people in my department. Is one guy took fish oil in a syringe from the med box and put it in some guy's toothpaste.
Oh God,
that was a good one. And then another guy put a fishing wire or fishing line on one of the chairs in the medic office. So when the probie medic was up late doing reports, he'd pull the chair a little bit and stuff, and he thought the house was haunted.
Those are all good.
So those good ones. And I've done the. Here's a good one. This guy still doesn't believe me that he's my buddy too, and hopefully he hears this. He still doesn't believe me that I did this. There's a guy. I don't know if it's a prank or me just being mean, but he hates mayo. He will not eat anything that has mayo in it whatsoever, right? No go, nothing, whatever. And so we always say when we're making like dressings or stuff like that, we sub sour cream for it. And he'll eat it, right? Well, one day I was like, dude, let's put mayo in it and see if he notices. So we made this like slaw dressing and we put mayo in it instead of sour cream. And he ate the whole thing. And we told him, we were like, dude, we put mayo in that. He's like, no, you didn't. I was like, yes, we did. Like, do you want evidence for it? Like, we put mayo in that. He's like, no, you didn't. It tastes like sour cream. And I'm like, he still to this day doesn't believe we put mayo in it. I was like, you don't really dislike mayo. Like, you still ate it. He's like, did you guys really give me mayo? Like, that's disgusting. And so he still doesn't believe it. But
I like that. We had a guy, it reminded me of the one, and this is one of my, I didn't do it. I was too young, but I witnessed it. But this guy, before bottled water became everywhere, back in early 2000s, late 90s, Poland spring water made these great big, huge quart or liter bottles. And he would bring them in every day, and he swore by them. Oh, these things are great. They're distilled, blah, blah, blah. So every day when he'd come in and put his stuff in the fridge, guys would dump his Poland spring water out and fill it up with regular tap water. And for months, it was like, this stuff is the best. You can't get this out of tap water. And it was just like an inside joke forever. I loved it.
Well, one to taper off that. this is an old story in my department, was that some guy came in saying he's going to go on a protein shake only diet. Protein shake only. He was just raving about how much weight he was going to lose. He's going to be jacked. All you other guys, I'm going to leave you in the dust. And it just annoyed the piss out of his entire crew. So what the crew did was they took that protein jug and they subbed it with cake batter. So every time he got a shake, he was drinking cake batter, and he was getting so pissed because he couldn't lose weight and he didn't know what was happening, but he loved how good it tasted.
That's just
The
me.
shakes are so good, man. Yeah,
That's hateful.
yeah, that was wild. But
good times.
yeah, man. Yeah, good times, good times. We've kind of gone away from the pranks because you don't know how people can take it. You gotta make sure the person you're pranking is a good sport.
Yeah, they can always blow up in your face. And when, again, just having seen the spectrum of before cell phones, the things that we've did or I've had done to me would definitely win lawsuit after lawsuit. So I'm glad that there was those cell phones when I was around. Those in Lexington that are listening, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Brother, I appreciate your time. I appreciate you putting up with the poor internet to where we finally got it fixed. I cannot wait to try the supplement. Keep turning out that good social media stuff because I really, truly enjoy it. And I hope that more people that are listening to this are going to start following you because it's fun and it's informative. And I just love it, brother. And I appreciate your time.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right, brother. Stay safe.
All right.
Today's podcast was sponsored by Fire.
So, supplemental log for 3-Point Firefighter. We forgot something on the podcast. So this is like an end credit scene from a Marvel movie. So the people that are still listening get a little extra something. So tell me what a firefighter handshake is. If it's anything like a Cleveland steamer, I don't want to know.
No, this ties back to kind of the toxicity in the fire service. And this was told by a buddy of mine. And he goes, firefighter handshake is when, you come in for a handshake, you bring them in, give them the hug, and then with the other hand, you knife them in the back. What's up, man? Good to hear. Bam! Right there in the back. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what they call the firefighter handshake, because people will be nice to your face and turn around and talk shit behind your back.
Oh yeah, I had a chief that said, or he was like a deputy chief. He said, if you want somebody to talk shit about you, just leave the room.
Yeah.
So for those listening, this is our very first end credit scene. Now you're gonna stick around for more in the next podcast. Thanks again, brother.
Perfect. Yeah.
Facilities, industry-leading designers and manufacturers of realistic, built-to-last training structures for more than 30 years. Make your training count. Visit firefacilities.com for more information.